till I can't pray no more. Said I'm gonna pray all I can for my Lord. Exodus. Exodus. Second book in the Bible, Exodus chapter 16. I want to select verse number 2 and then go down to verse 11 and following. Exodus chapter 16. Verse number 2 reads, and it's a bad place to begin reading because the verse starts with a conjunction and ties together the thought of something taking place previously. And now we are at this posture. Exodus chapter 16, verse 2 from the Standard King James Version. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured, grumbled, whined. I just want to tell you what they were doing.
Amen.
Against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. Verse 11 says, and here we go again with, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel. Speak unto them, saying, at even ye shall eat flesh, and in the morning ye shall be filled with bread. And ye shall know that I am the Lord your God. And it came to pass at the even the quails came up and covered the camp. And in the morning the dew lay around about the host. And when the dew that lay was gone up, behold, upon the face of the wilderness there lay small round thing, as small as the hoar of frost on the ground. And when the children of Israel saw it, they said one to another, it is manna. Man, what is this? Huh? It is manna, but they wished not, they knew not what it was. And Moses said unto them, this is the bread which the Lord has given you to eat. You will look at your neighbor. It's close to Sunday, you ought to be getting your heart right. Shouldn't have no stumbling problems on Saturday morning. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, God will provide. God will
Come on, God.
provide. The pericope of this narrative is not unusual among God's people. As you know, Exodus in the Hebrew translates to exit. In the Greek, Exodus means a bringing out, to come out. And I want you to understand, God not only brought out Israel, but he has brought out us.
Come on.
Many of us in here did not have a testimony or didn't give one, but we got one.
Amen.
Am I talking to anybody in here?
Amen.
I'm not talking about anybody. I'm just saying what I'm saying.
Amen.
Many of us didn't give a testimony. but we have a testimony. Some of us have been through some things that if it was known, a lot of folk who know us or who think they know us would walk away. I'm just telling you. You see, even me, I'm a repeat offender. I got some skeletons
Talk to us, God.
in my closet
Talk to us, Father.
that sometimes it scares me when I look back. And my mind lets me know that I made it this far by the provisions and grace of God. Somebody say, God will provide.
God will provide.
Israel had been in slavery. And you have all kinds of folk giving narratives about the time of their journey into Egypt. And some folk go over to Exodus 12 and 40. And they read that now the sojourn of Israel in Egypt was 430 years. And they say, well, Egypt was the house of abode of slavery for Israel 430 years. That's not true. That's a misinterpretation. You see, if you look up the word sojourn,
Amen.
in the Hebrew, that word means the time of their stay. In the Greek, that word sojourn means the time that they lived among the inhabitants of the land. Well, Joseph went in as a 17-year-old and he died at 125 years old. That's the book. I didn't write that. I'm a little bit off where I'm headed, but I just want to give you some background.
Amen.
He lived 125 years. And if you read and not let folk fill you up with yada yada and da da da, but if you read, you will discover that in his 125 years, when the famine hit Canaan, and his brothers came into Egypt to buy grain, they didn't know who he was. And he sent for his daddy and all his brethren and all the host of Israel. And the text says, and 70 souls, 70 living folk went down into Egypt. I just want you to think about this for a minute. If he lived 125 years of age, and you know, my math is bad, you know, so I have to, he went into Egypt at 17. And so I can't count real good, but I can cipher. Are y'all praying with me? Amen. So approximately 109 years, they were free to do what they wanted to do. But then a prophecy that Moses made in Deuteronomy as he was handing the torch off, he said, now listen, in the fourth generation, they shall not remember who you are. How many folks in here can remember past 4 generations in your family? Huh? You need to start looking up your family tree. You need to find out some folks.
Amen.
Am I talking to anybody?
Amen.
The Bible is right. So watch this. They lived. And then Exodus 1 and 8 says, and there arose a new Pharaoh who knew not Joseph. I'm going back to my assignment, but I need to get this in. And said, and this is the only time in Egyptian history you will find this word, the Habiru. That word means the Hebrews are mightier than we. Let's deal wisely with them. Otherwise, the war breaks out.
Yes.
They'll join and defeat us. So the record is, they put them to work. And the more they work them, the more they multiply.
Amen.
Now let me show you how God works. The Hebrew midwives got called in and said, listen, there's too many of these Negroes coming up in here. I'm just paraphrasing so you get it. So if it's a boy, kill it. If it's a girl, let it live. But the Bible said that the Hebrew midwives feared
Yes.
the Lord
The Lord.
and let everybody live. And among that crew, Moses was born. Now, according to history, the slavery went on 13 years before the birth of Moses. Moses left Israel at age 40. Moses returned to Israel at age 80, which means that that's 93 years they're in slavery. And he came back with a commission to let my people go. Are y'all following me?
Amen.
And now they are leaving Israel. Now you got to get the time schedule. See, this is why you need to read.
Amen.
Deuteronomy says, and Moses was 120 years old when he died. He spent the perfect 40 years in Pharaoh's house. Then he spent the 40 years of perfection. See, most people miss that 40 is perfection. 4 is perfection. In the wilderness. And then he spent 40 years leading God's folk till he died. Moses was 120 years old. So that word sojourn, the time of their stay, has credence and validity based on the time schedule. And if you go through your Bible, and I got to do this because I can't leave your hand.
Come on, now take your time.
If you go through your Bible and you look at the Persian captivity, the Babylonian captivity, the Hittite captivity, and the captivity down in Egypt, if you look at all of that and total it up, Israel spent 311 years in slavery. And so when Stephen was being stoned to
Come
death,
on now.
over in Acts chapter 7, verse 6, 7, and 8, he said that God spake to Abraham on this wise, that his seed should sojourn, should travel. Are y'all following me?
Oh, come on, God.
Into a land that
Yes.
is not theirs. And they shall bring them into bondage and serve them 400 years. Did y'all see where I was going with that? I want you to look around in your mind and tell me what group of folk you know have spent 400 years in bondage.
We have black folks.
See, let me get back to my assignment. If it's in the Old Testament and has been fulfilled, it will talk
Come on, God.
about it not having to come again. But Joel propped it up and set the stage for the prophecy in Acts. He says, and in those days I will bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. I didn't write that. They shall sell a boy. They shall give a harlot for their wine. I didn't write that. I'm just a mailman. So wait a minute. They're already out. Joel wasn't even born till 600 years till after they come out of Egypt.
Amen.
So why is he talking about going into bondage? Uh-oh. Then Stephen come along 1,000 years later, talking about
Amen.
some folk going into slavery.
Yeah.
Y'all got that? That was for free today. that wasn't part of the word.
I'm grateful for it. You said what
But I had to say what God gave me to say. Get some heads to thinking if you don't do nothing else. Is that all right?
3 words are always okay.
Israel had come out of Egypt. And they were a bunch of mumbling,
Yes.
grumbling folks. They never were satisfied. They were so dissatisfied until when they got to the Red Sea and they saw Pharaoh's army bearing down on them. The board of deacons come together See, we don't have boards in our church. We have deacon ministries. The board of deacons got together. Oh, we need to fire the pastor. He done got us out here in the wilderness. We told him there was enough graves of us already down in Egypt. Now, why he lead us out here? Here's the Red Sea in front of us. Mountains on both sides. Pharaoh and his army closing in. And he out here talking about, we gonna make it. I come to tell you how I'm in the cabin. Yeah, you probably have had some Red Sea experiences. Anybody in here had any Red Sea experiences? Where it looked like everything had closed in on you. You were surrounded and nobody had a kind word for you. I got news for you new leaders. You got some of them days coming. You got some days that you're going to have some folk in the camp that ought to be on your side. And don't tell me they won't turn on you. Because there was a certain lady that hung with Moses that was in the cliff. And she jumped up with her brother and turned against the leadership. They were murmuring. They forgot how great God was when they left Egypt. They forgot how God provided when it was time to go. First thing God did was provide it through the blood.
Yes.
Y'all missed that, didn't you? He provided through the blood. He said, listen, I've got to change some minds. I've got to change some hearts. I've got to correct some situations. So when you sacrifice, put the blood on the doorpost.
Come on, God.
And everywhere that the death angel passed by, when he see the blood, he'll pass over you. You want to know why you ain't gone? You keep saying, I'm covered in the blood. And the world can't do me no harm. Am I talking to anybody in here? You see, when you are covered by the blood, God provides for you.
That's right.
Am I talking to anybody in here today? I'm trying to get through. I asked the Lord to give me 20 minutes, and I promised to try to give him back 5 of them. But you are covered by the blood. And do you know some of the most grumbling folk in the world is them that's covered by the blood? They feel like because they are covered by the blood, they have what is called protective rights. I can grumble and go on anyhow. Am I talking to anybody in here? Woo, let's fire the pastor. He got us out here in the middle of nowhere. We ain't got nothing to stand on. We ain't got a building that we call a national headquarters.
Come on.
Woo, let's fire the pastor. Am I talking to anybody in here? Come on, pray with me. I know sometimes you feel that you say it, you just try. Well, he's been there so long, us gonna spect it. Come on, talk to me, somebody. Woo, let's fire the pastor. He didn't sing my song.
Come on, man. Tell it.
He didn't preach my sermon.
Yeah.
You got a sermon that's so good to you. You ought to preach it yourself. I told some folk one time, they told me, said, Dr. Myers, so you didn't preach that thing like I wanted you to preach it. I said, well, you got from now till the time I get back to rehearsing, and I'll hear you preaching. Am I talking to anybody in this house? Woo, let's fire the pastor. They ain't looking right. The budget.
Come on.
Am I talking to anybody in here?
Yes, sir. Hallelujah.
The budget ain't in order. The membership ain't growing. Let's fire the pastor. Come on, talk to me, somebody. Y'all act like y'all ain't heard. Y'all act like you don't even go to church. Huh?
Come on, God. Daddy.
If I was the pastor, I'd have took another route. I wouldn't have led us in the wilderness. If I was the pastor.
Yeah.
Do I have a witness in here? Some folk, I don't care what you do, they ain't gonna never be satisfied.
Amen.
Am I talking to anybody? You new leaders, you gotta have a Moses spirit. Moses didn't go chastise nobody. He said, Lord, you know. And he turned to God. And the Lord says, listen, Moses, I hear these murmuring and grumbling Negroes. I see all they got going on.
Amen.
But let me teach them a lesson. I got you. You already in the camp, Moses.
Yeah.
Here's what I want to teach them. I want you to turn around and hold up your rod and stretch it out. And show them that in the middle of the wilderness, I will provide. In spite of their grumbling. In spite of their backbiting. Y'all don't hear that, do you? In spite of their lying. Oh, Lord. I'm going to provide anyhow. Oh, this is on time, and I know it. You might not say, man. You might not get your shout. That's all right. Am I talking to anybody here? In spite of all the foolishness,
Yeah.
I'm going to provide just to prove I'm God.
That's right. That's right.
Did you hear me?
Yes, sir.
What Jesus said yesterday, Brother Lewis? This ain't for my benefit.
Yeah.
I'm going to raise Lazarus because these nuts over here don't believe that I got all power.
Come on, Doc.
They ain't got nothing to do with me. Huh? You got to have a right way of thinking. He said, but I'm going to prove to them that I am a provider. Somebody look at your neighbor and say, God will provide.
God will provide.
Moses holds up the rod. Wind blows.
Yeah.
Let me clarify that. Now, east
Come on.
wind blows. I don't know what it is about that east wind, but when an east wind blows, things got to happen. When they tell me a hurricane forms out on the west coast and headed this way, I don't be worried. But every time they tell me a hurricane formed in the east, I start looking up and down the coast because some things getting ready to get shook up. There's something about an east wind and God. Am I talking to anybody in here? Lord help your boy. I feel this thing here.
Yeah.
I know it's sad and I got to preach in the morning, but is it all right
It's all right.
if I preach in here today, Sister Johnny? You don't mind, do you? Because I feel like preaching. John, when they were condemning him to the Isle of Patmos, he said, Lord, I'll go if you give me a sign. The Lord spoke to John and said, pull off a twig and hold it in the air.
Yeah.
And the record is an east wind blew the twig out of his hand. Are y'all talking to me this morning? An east wind got God a personal and private secretary. Because he wrote letters back to the church in the name of the Lord by the voice of the Lord. Come on, talk to me, somebody.
Yeah.
So when Moses held up the staff, I dare say, brothers and sisters, that was a precursor to John going to the Isle of Patmos.
Yeah.
Because an east wind parted the water. Let me show you how good God is to provide. You know, at the bottom of a lake or river or
Come on
stream,
now.
there's muck and mire down at the bottom. But the text says that God's east wind
Yeah.
dried up
Ride it up.
the muck and the mire. And they crossed the Red Sea on dry land.
Ride it.
What a mighty God he said. I got to throw this one in for free. You don't mind if I go in the sidebar for a minute. I had a sick preacher over in Columbus, Georgia, say Israel didn't cross the Red Sea.
Amen.
He said they crossed the Sea of Reeds and the water was ankle deep. I said, Negro, you don't realize how awesome you just made our God. He said, what do you mean, Doc? I said, if the Lord took ankle-deep water and drowned horses and chariots with a mighty power. Am I talking to anybody in here? If it was just ankle-deep, and he did all of that, huh? I want you to know every time he saw me, after that he said, Doc, you ain't nothing but a fool. I said, no, I preach truth.
Amen.
The Bible says it was the Red Sea. And that's what I'm going to preach. Am I talking to anybody in here? Soon as they got across the Red Sea. See, I don't know why most of us, just like Israel, we got short memories.
Amen.
We forget the great things that God has done in our lives, that we can complain about the minor things. We spend more time majoring in minor stuff. Stuff don't even make sense.
Come on with it, Doc.
Want to know what color the choir robe gonna be like when the Lord come back? He gonna be concerned about what color the choir robe was. Want to know, can the musician sing? No, they ain't caring nothing about whether the musician can sing. You want to know, can you sing? Am I talking to anybody in here? We spend time, wasted time, talking about what we think it ought to be rather than going here finding out what it really is. I didn't mean to preach this hard this morning.
Oh, take your time, Doc. Take your time.
I'm not talking to anybody in this room.
The Lord needs you, brother.
Talk
Huh?
to me.
The Lord needs you.
These folk got short memories. We seem to have short memories from which we came. We come through stuff, and God delivers us every time. Every time. Last year, well, not just last year, just April, before I get to last year, we paid for rooms that we couldn't even sleep in.
Come on, Doc.
Didn't nobody sleep in them. We were short. But the Lord had rams, not a ram, rams in the bush. Sit down at the table and start talking. And all of this huffing and puffing that folk was doing, when we started talking, they said, okay, we'll take that. We made a couple of phone calls and walked out with our name clean.
Amen. You did.
These brothers have been preaching about God will provide. And that's what the Lord brought me to this morning.
Amen.
We were in Virginia. Same situation.
Talk to me, Doc.
Wasn't no money in the treasury. Are you listening to me? But the bill came due. And all of a sudden, folks like, oh, I meant to turn this in, and I had that to turn in. And we walked out of Virginia paying more than we should have. And we still didn't get the refund, but we still walked out with our name clean.
Amen.
And they acknowledged that we paid more than we should have. But they haven't acknowledged the check back yet. I don't know why it is when you owe them, they want it now, but when they owe you. Am I talking to anybody in this house? Here we were yesterday, thinking that we had most of the bill paid and only a couple of $100 left. And we got hit with a $1,540 bill, more than what we had on hand. First thing, the Lord said, well, what about the $500 you already sent? Oh, I didn't see that. Well, some folk was in that room beside me.
Amen.
But no, I didn't give you credit for that. Oh, yes, here it is. You sure did. I know it did because I made it. You understand what I'm saying?
Amen.
I made the payment. We sitting there. We got to talking. And y'all say what y'all want about Crazy Hershey. I'm calling it crazy to her face. That Negro got some brains under that skull. I'm going to tell it while it's living. She can know, and then can't nobody go back and say, child, Doc call you crazy. I'm calling her crazy to her face. But she ain't no fool. Y'all hear that?
All right.
One thing she know how to do is count. She got to running up them figures. She said, Doc, here it is. This too much. Call the lady up. The lady got to talking backwards and forth. That $1,540 bill dropped down to a little over $1,200. $1,203. I said, well, we're about $600-700 short. Brother walked in from Maryland and said, hey, man, I need to pay the dues for my lodge for the year. Are y'all catching on to me? When he finished paying dues and charter fee, that was $587 of the $600. Then some more folk came in, and I saw one person post $148 and come back and post, I believe, $70 or $90 again.
That's already.
148 and 95. See, somebody got better memory than me. Am I talking to anybody in here? And listen to me talking. I said, well, we got the hotel covered, but we still got to pay the DJ. Sister Hershey was laying across the bed with her calculator. I'm sitting there at the computer, and we all sitting there. She said, don't worry about it. It's already covered. Now, mind you, the bill $1,203, and we got $1,218. And she telling me I got another $125 that I ain't ever seen. So wait a minute. now let me tell you what could have happened.
Amen.
I could have went into Doubtville. But because I'm so used to God providing, when she spoke it, I received it. See that? Look at that. He said over here said, I got 400. See, you look at, are y'all listening to what I'm saying? God will provide. The lady said, how y'all gonna pay? Sister Hershey, mind you, we only have $566 in the account when the lady asked that question. She said, we're gonna pay with the card that's on file. We ain't giving you another card.
Amen.
I'm sitting there. I said, well, I done handed the keys off to the car. I need to shut up. I don't need to interfere when folks see in the way. God taught me again yesterday that I ain't the only one got to see the deliverance.
Amen.
Am I talking to anybody in this house? These folk got short memories. Sometimes we mumble and grumble and don't realize how great God has worked behind the scene to make sure Hiram and the Kelly stand tall before the world. We forget about it. We forget that it is not us that makes us great, but it is the grace and the power of God working through us that makes us great. Because we ain't nothing but breath and bridges.
Amen.
Am I talking to anybody in here? I'm sorry if I'm going over a little bit. That's all right.
Fine, Doctor.
That's all right.
Fine.
We good.
Israel just got past the Red Sea. And here they go again. The whole congregation murmuring against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. You got us out here, and all we got is water. We need some bread. Yeah. Moses go to the Lord. So these folks want some bread. Yeah, and while you're at it, we need some meat. We need to fix a sandwich. Not a sandwich. We need to fix a sandwich. Give us some meat and bread. Am I talking to anybody in here?
Come on, Doctor.
You know how it is. Every now and then you got to go by Burger King and get you a sandwich. You want some meat and bread? Huh? Put a little ketchup on it, a little mustard, a little bit of onions.
Come on now.
Yeah, they are in the wilderness. I want me some meat and bread. So Moses goes to the Lord to show you how blind these folk are. You got to understand your blindness, and I'm really getting ready to get on Main Street and go home. These folk, so blind, that they don't understand that God has laid such a provision that the shoes that they've been wearing them for 50 years at that time, and they ain't wore out.
Come on, Doctor.
Exactly.
They so busy grumbling about what they don't have rather than praising God for what they got.
What they got?
Amen.
Like many of us, cutting off our nose to spite our face.
Come on.
Am I talking to anybody in here?
Come on, God.
We always talk about what we ain't got.
What did you?
If you spend time rejoicing
Yes.
and taking care of what you got,
Yes. Yes.
God will give you more than that. The text says if you're faithful, Brother Lewis, over a few things, I'll make you ruler over many things. Have I got a witness in here?
Amen.
So these folk are grumbling about me eating bread and not realizing that
Yes.
it's been the word of God that have sustained them all through the wilderness. And you know, my brothers and sisters, as I hasten on to my seat today, you may get bread and still be hungry. You may get meat
Come on now.
and still be hungry. But I stopped by here to tell you, if you get bread of heaven, the Lord will feed you until you want no more. Have I got a witness in here? If you trust God, God will surely provide. Oh yeah, the wind may blow in your life and storm clouds may rise, but you hold on to God's unchanging hand. Oh yeah, you don't have to see where God is taking you. All you have to do is obey and go. Have I got a witness in here? You need to understand, brethren, the Hebrew word for go is door. Oh yeah, if you got to go, you ought to open some doors so you can go on where the Lord wants you to go. Oh, I'm about through in here, showing up. Sunday morning is coming, and I feel well, preach coming on now. But well, you got to understand, you didn't come this far by yourself. Oh yeah, gotta be like the songwriter. Oh, we've come this far by faith, and we're leaning on the Lord. Yes, we are. How do you know we're leaning? One Friday evening, out on Golgotha's hill. Oh, he died. Do you know he died? But early Sunday morning, he got out of the grave with all power. Thank you, Jesus. I'm going to leave that alone. All power. All power. Shucks. In his hand.
Amen.
God will provide.
Yes, he will.
God will provide. You got to believe that God will provide. There may be somebody who want to come on the Lord's side.
Hallelujah.
Christian experience, candidate for baptism, or you may come by letter. We got churches all over we can
Amen.
connect you with. We extend the invitation. You are the hold to his hand. Oh Lord of God. Those are the churches open. You are the hold to his hand. Oh Lord of God. You are to build your hopes on things eternal. You are the hope to God's unchanging hand. Every member of the hope to his hand. Yeah, Lord of God's unchanging hand. You are the hope to his hand. Ooh, Lord of God's unchanging hand. You are to build your hopes on things eternal and a hope to God's unchanging hand. Thank you. Thank you so very much for your kindness, allowing me to holler at you for this time span. I pray that the Lord says something that will bring you through. After all, trusting in the Lord is all that we have. Praise the Lord.
Let's get a man of God.